Started dream lines into all levels of reduction. Reduction locations in evac line course it takes all lines of toxicity and position lines of fuming, direct location of gases, or anything attracts center location setting and position location to its fumes. Directing ground standards into position lines of processing your filter lines, your infiltration system, your dietary line centers, location air and location lines, position of travels, or your nervous system lines of calculations. Directing ground centers is the I-line sequence. We're now in process how to use our I-line centers and the screen locations, how to get into habitations of zones, process in position of sleeping, and line set locations of taking naps. Now, understanding that track course centers, you're not sleeping. You're not taking naps. It's indicate line connection setting process that communicates to the oversoul that really lines its communicates to its force works of time frame. That puts all communication how you get in position lines of settings. Process that position locations living in the I-line centers of the eyes of the windows of the soul. So everybody is out of the dream. That's all through intent. All position locations to its system. That process communicates to its symbiote. It communicates instead to the oversoul. That process communicates to its setting all through tractions. Indicate that line course centers takes you in the directions, readjusting the existings to its atmospheres, awakening line screen adaptation to all travels and point lines of mind, the alteration system, all through perception. Now, waking up to light and dark. Welcome to the virtual realities out of the dream sequence into reduction. That process the lines of position location. So it's kind of like a vacuum. That process every locations out of the line sequence that gets you in communications back into balance with your systems and settings. How to motivate the line center location setting when you guys are taking naps. Your eyes are going really, really fast and all lines, all angles, all at once, right? So you have no idea what's happening when you're closing your eyes. You're not closing your eyes, okay? So you're not recharging until you bring recharging. Okay, you're not a remote until you bring a remote. So you have to identify everything because in that position, everything around you is just empty space. You don't bring in things, not to perceive. But the only thing you're perceiving is everything that's running its own operation of its own system. So this is where you have to get balanced with your settings and all through tractions. Okay? So we're going to get a course centers of communication to a system. It's kind of like bouncing yourself, twirling around, right? So you stand up, okay, and you just twirl your body around like this, right? Keep spinning, 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 right? When you stop, you're like, right? That's the bounce, that's the equilibrium, that's the course, that's the teeter-totter, that's position of the polarity communication to its position, trying to bounce out from location setting to its infusion to its cerebral cortex. You don't want to liquefy your setting, location setting to your plasma line because it offlines your communication your systems into your carbon base, into your silicones every 24 o'clock line screen, adaptation of flux, process communication lines of angles, online set lines, online communication in convergence system multi travel. And that communication lines of grounds, online sequence location setting to the eye center location setting, the eyes and windows of the soul. Now you guys are full in spectrum of awake, 100% line and 100% space of time. That's where you are right now. So you're no longer dreaming, never were dreaming. The process line, position, location, systems off the calculation lines. So the intent is in process position, okay, to all levels of influence. Okay, influence equals the mind, okay, of alteration. Private screen lines, adaptation of flux. Intent influenced by alteration, right? Manipulation. All right, so now the spectrum of line conditions to its intel has to truly understand its own influence of itself so it can understand how to see everything through mind alteration and settings. It's all about seeing things through the alkaline male that comes into the cortex of its memory. You have to understand the memory cortex. You have to understand the dimensional cortex. You have to understand the filtering cortex. You understand the infiltration cortex. Everything has a position location that prefects the precortex, location of its setting to your eye lines of spectrum. Directing all course centers, process communication all lines at different angles and flux. Process that line, direct lines of grounds, online sequence, online pi. So in that position locations, the one thing you guys have to start identifying is how to keep your balance with your minds and alterate everything what you come in position with. Coming into lines of audio graph screens, video graph screens, interline connection, interception graph screens, process line screen adaptations, all those interference, correlations of interference, balance of interference, track interference, human interference, everything is in interference. Interference is a high formation of interline connection setting that interlocks your set location interfacing. Directing ground centers, online sequence, online pi. Now, how you get in that position, let's start off with lines of measure and scale. All right, so everybody put their hand up. Okay, now I want you to blink. Just blink, 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 blink. Okay, bring it forward. Back in here. Side, side. Okay, bring it up, bring it down. Okay, it's like sliding down, right? Whoa, where's your mind going, right? So it's all of us, when you get in position locations, balancing these things out as a cross angle, cross line communication, position location, and system all through traction. So start line communication setting, one strip line down, one cross locations, right? Start with the inline settings. What you guys have to process is when you close your eyes, you have no idea what's going on with your eyes. And that's what you need to balance. Okay? So when your eyes are going like that, you're creating speed traps. Okay? A speed trap is a conversion system located in alpha waves, deltas, theta, operation lines, and settings. Processing that position comes into all levels. Now, your communications and operators and units are out of files now. You guys are in position audio files. How to set an audio frame, how to set a cassette frame, how to go back in past, how to go back in present, how to set a message to each other through solar contact, solar graph screens, set position emails to each other, copy and paste, paragraphs to each other, books to each other, spaceline communication convergence, photos to each other, images to each other. Everything is set through an audio file that turns it in position that runs its own operation to its sent locations. Now you have a film strip. Now, first you have to understand that you are your animator of your own animation. Okay, and all you're doing is setting up frames of files per second, per square, per mile, per calculus, per square. So you have to truly understand how your hand goes by. Right? You can't see my hand completely, right? But it's traveling, right? Very fast, right? But it's in slow motion. Slow motion, but my hands, and in all lines, how I see myself through specific locations. How you use the mind, and it's an interior motive. What you guys have to truly understand, how you see your position going up, how you go down, go across, right? We're not seeing anything, right? Just a blip, right? Just a blip. Still a blip. Still slow, you still see it traveling, right? Doesn't matter. It's still, you can't see my fingers together. You can't see the focus. You can't see the clarity until you understand what's going on with your eyes, this spectrum. Process position is light and dark and light, right? Light, dark, dark, light, light, dark, dark, light, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. See what my finger's doing? Going that way, that way. Now, what was it? Is it going through a circulation? You have no idea where my eye direction is going. So you have no balance with that positions, right? I'm coming at you, coming at you, coming at you, right? Okay, but you can't see my fingers in clarity and focus because you guys focus on this now. This is gone. This is not here anymore. You're in this now. That's where you guys are next, right? So when you're sleeping and taking naps, that's what your eyes are doing. All through spectrum lines of snowy graph interference. Starting off snowy graph interference is bound in a light and dark line screen adaptation to flux the process core centers, a precortex prefix location setting into its anomaly that changes core centers, calculates the screen locations or systems, all through tractions of balance. Okay? One signal lines of grounds. See? Light and dark at the same time. See? That's what your eyes are doing. And it doesn't matter how you look at it in an equation. Oh, it's gone. I got emotional. Now I got to create a line again. Right? See how it disappeared? Because you got emotional. You get emotional, you got to do it again. Let's bring it back and set it. It's there, right? Okay, let's do a 3-line 60. Is it there? Yes. Okay. And again, always bring it back to the failsafe. Make sure you're in position lines of balance. Good to go. All right. Now we add a cross stream. Okay. Travels together, right? So what's it doing? Going this way, going this way, going this way, going this way, and going this way. Right? Figure 8. Right? You thought it was going all way one way. No. Stop focusing on this and start focusing everything beyond. Right? So what you have to start to understand now, when you're sleeping and taking naps, okay, you're not in provision of anything until you bring it in. Like I said, you have to be specific now on how you come in your titles, labels, and your defense lines, how you use your alteration of your egos, how you bring in all that communication setting and process of your conscience that you put yourself in through story. So it's very important you understand these things. How do you see your hand go by? But your eyes are moving very fast. They never stop rotating. Look at my finger. How many fingers am I using? Right? You can't tell, right? Because it's going up and down too quick, right? Only 2. 3. Okay, see? Go really, really fast. How many fingers are you seeing? Right? So it's amazing. When you're sleeping, you're taking time reference of your system, your time clocking your settings, you're processing your position locations, how you see in the eye spectrum. And it's microscopes, periscopes, or anything of a telescope. You have to start using your alpha, omega, micro, and macro now. You get triangulation box, the eye line centers. You live in the eye line lines of spectrum now. You're no longer dreaming. Okay? You never were dreaming. You have to process how to balance out your eye lines of settings and position of what you're doing through spectrum of light and dark together. As you were processing the dream, you were living light. Your body's getting up to the light day. And then your body goes to sleep in the dark day, right? That's why you guys were off balance. So now you're out of the dream, okay? Now you're going through the spectrum of light and dark together. Now when you put that together, it rotates to a figure 8. All right? So you have to understand what the eyes are doing, which way is it going, okay? So you have no directions, what my hand is doing, how fast and how many fingers I'm holding up. But if you really focus on slowing things down, you can see the spectrum of 3, right? Slowing it down, see the spectrums of 1. Going again, set position location, setting, set position of 2. Okay, 2. So what you guys have to start identifying is processing your longitude and your latitudes of slowing down your space. You slow down your space, you're slowing your thoughts, action, emotions, right? How your finger rotates. And then it disappears. But it's still there. It's attractions, right? So once you understand that, then you have to understand the waving, the lacing lines, the ley lines, the hydraulics, the spectrum circulation lines of Fibonacci. Going in, going out. Now, every second, every minute of your hour, your framing, that's what your eyes are doing. Every single second, minute, hour of your set locations. All right, so what you have to start identifying is how fast your eyes are filtering. How fast are they going through space? Are they clocking their systems? Are they clocking calculations? Are they clocking their pi? What's going on with their finger point lines? Right? So it's all levels, how to control your rhythm, your patterns behavior, your spectrums, your lights and darts all together, right? It's going so fast, but it's going higher in speed, higher in acceleration, higher in light, higher in spectrum, higher light metaphor. So you got 2 panels lines, and this process how you use your mind over matter, depending what you're using in carbon, what you use through the silicone, what you're seeing in position location at all levels of crystalline or anything antimental. Or in that position anticaryon. Once you reach anticaryon, you get 144 flux. That's 144 flux. Now, when I have 144 flux, I have to understand, am I want to go in position of frame lines in seconds, minutes, hours, and frame? Or it can be hours, minutes, seconds, and frame. Remember, you're in your own space, you're in your own time now. You're in your own clocking, you're in your own foundation, you are in your own set position now. Okay, so you're no longer bedding into each other. You just have to process what's going on with your eyes as they're traveling very fast in space and time, as you're going through frame by frame by frame by frame. Okay, how your body's going through frame by frame by frame by frame. You are your own animator to your own animations, but you have to understand the creation of black and white and understand how to use it through its negative cycle of line position of snowy graph interference. Is that position? 2 vectors, lines, and screens of snowy graph interference. Everything's a hum. What you have to start identifying is the 144 system that travels in that point lines of graph that has the color locations, green location setting that puts all line position inhibitors that cross location near antennas and how to use that through spectrum of light and dark and all through travel. Okay? So process, let's get into the highways. Let's get 3 lines set position. It's going all at once, right? Now, what if I get pattern behavior? Is it still there? Still there, right? So it travels in all angles. But try to remember, it's traveling all at once now in a rotation of circulation, rotation, circulation, rotation, circulation, rotation. So you've seen it like this. That's on 2. This is on 3. This is on 4. So that's 3, 6, 9, 12 right there. Look at how powerful that is. Hopefully the eye lines. Now, that's a video frame right there in set position. That's just one frame. Okay? Then you go into the next frame. You go into the next frame. So you're building a video file. You start with the files. You build a video file. But a video file needs positions of what? Input, output, and audio. Because if it doesn't have audio and you send the messages, they can't hear it. So you have to really integrate that set position, cause you know what you're doing through intent, and when you're sending anything through an image, they can receive it through a video file, through its cortex, through its memory, into their position and outgoing mail. They press that, it's an email itself, that's the incoming mail, they receive it, they press that, start play, there's the video, comes out, you're seeing it. Seeing the video and see the person talking. So position lines of tractions, direct lines of grounds, online sequence lines of pop. Uh-oh, something would happen. You said a glitch in your video. So the intent to the intelligence has to send back the message saying, listen, you said a video line, but it popped. Right? So you have to be very cautious of what you're doing through specification as you're sending messages to each other, not just the files. You're creating a video file. You're creating a film strip, right? So now you're creating a running strip in set position, right? Not through a dream. Through its intent now, to change everything to its influence of everything as mind alteration. Okay? So it moves all together, right? Bring back the failsafe. That's where its interactions continue on. Set the next file. Right? So the next file is just adding frames. Okay? This is the next file. This is the next message. This is the next time sequence. Okay? All through information system, all through travel. That's the next file. Has to work all together in that position, right? Bring it back to failsafe. That's where it is. Then you go to the next file. Okay, so you keep adding, right? But you have to understand that you're looking north, west, south, and east. See? North, south, west, and east. So in that provision locations, let's get position of 2 fingers, right? Now, what I want you to understand, that position locations, I want you to look through your finger from this side, this side, this side, this side, this side, this side, and this side all at once. Okay? And then you're going to see passive everything. And you're going to actually see your finger move to the other side. See how the finger's moving inside? See, I'm not doing it. All I'm doing is doing the projection. This is time editing space. But my finger isn't moving. It's only moving on your frame. That's mind over matter. I move my finger over by itself. That's time editing space. Time reduction in position of reflection to refract locations. So what you do in that position line high center is always have yourself still in the mind of all concept, location of the system, how to see the eye spectrum through its set calculation, right? All through traction. All right, and you can do it the other, you do it this, and then you do it this, and you do it this, do it that, do it this, and then you get a position location setting, and then you start putting your hands together, right? And then close your eyes, open your eyes, all right? And you do this, and you start creating different levels. Okay, keep your eyes going in that position. So what you're creating is a codification system, and you're moving faster in the mind as it's creating lines of position location to a system as they work together in set design. So it's a lot more understandable when you truly understand what you're doing in position, right? Let's go on the left, right? So keep looking, right? Now, I'm looking at you guys, but I'm looking in this direction, and this direction only. So that's 3 line centers, one up, one down, one across. That's a 3 flux line position of one position, one half pipe and trowel. So that's position, location, line condition setting. You watch my finger, it will rotate it over here automatically. Now that's time editing space, okay? Well, you can set a line strip location system, but you have to slow down your finger to speed up the anomaly, right? So the finger has to indicate what you're doing through the spectrum as it sees it here, here, and here, right? So I'm looking at there. That is the knuckle, top is setting, bottom and frequency. Set lines of travel, okay, so here we go. So center operation lines, space-time line, communication setting, 2 flux over line rotation, 2 fingers or point lines of graph, okay? 1 indicate line centers, line condition of the moon, position of process of the line connection setting, indicates position, right? So this is process of communication, summer, spring, winter, and fall. Back to track locations, summer, spring, winter, fall. Set position locations. Setting lines of track centers, 4 lines of flux location system, right? Center operation lines of setting in sequence. Okay, so here we go. So as I'm penetrating through the wall line sequence, as it's going through the penetration lines and position of universal space of time lines and the Gaussian lines and the communication screen lines adaptations, right? You'll see my finger move over this way automatically through mind over matter. Okay, see how it's moving itself? But I'm looking straight ahead. Okay, so I'm mind controlling the finger as it slightly moves over the energy line, right? So it's very powerful what you're doing through eye direction. So when you guys are sleeping, you know exactly what you're doing now, as you're getting longitude and latitude and understand how to use your antenna. Getting control of how to use your inside position. So everything has aligned direct centers. The process are settings how to see it in space lines of time. Now it's going to get more complicated because you have to start how to understand how to use your hands and formations. All through tractions, all through locations. Okay? So you start with that. And when you get in that position, start with 1 finger, start with 2, start with 3, 4, and 5, right? Start with the center. So this is mind over matter where you can push things, right? Remember in line positions all over the Sam Wheat and Ghost, where he said he can't push it with his finger? That's what you guys are doing, but you're doing it through the mind now. So you're not doing it through the dream anymore. You can't because there's no toxicity in line connection setting. You can't move anything if you're still dreaming. You got to get out of the dream. That's a concept you never were in the dream in the first place. That process of communication in the oversoul has always been its existing of itself. So it's much easier to move things, right? So I'm in the center, okay? So, but my hand's going to stay still here, but you're going to see my hand move on your side and how you see it through perception, right? So it goes here, right? So watch. I'm looking through, I'm looking through, I'm looking through, I'm looking through, and you can see the hand move by itself. Slowly in set position. But I'm looking right through you guys in that perception. So that's mind over matter. Now, am I doing that through carbon? No. Am I doing that through silicone? No. I'm doing it in a higher frequency in set lines of antimental that cross the lines of streaming in case it's setting to its bridging, going through 1 finger at each line signal. Okay? So it's very complicated stuff if you don't know what you're doing through your eyes. So this is going to process you guys to truly understand how to use that in lines of communication setting. Same with your thumb, right? Okay, so watch my thumb move to the right. I'm going to look straight at you guys. Never look at the thumb. Always look beyond. Don't look directly here. That's what you guys are in dream of. There's no indication setting we can set lines of position. In that track lines, try to see in a 3 graph screen through a thumb through a 7 paradigm, but it will move slightly, right? But if it sees it through a carbon that you're in position of specifications, the finger won't move itself. You have to identify through specification when you're doing through images that recourse to the set lines of space of time that change the parallels of the parables locations to your paradigm shifts that polar shifts locations all through finger as set tractions. All right, so here we go. It's going to go over to the right. Okay. All right. So my finger is an energetic pole. It feels the pulse. It's an connecting the lines of magnetic force. All right, so I'm going to tell it to go down. I'm looking straight through. I'm not looking at the finger. You can see the all levels of the thumb go down. Okay, so it's energetic pulse. It's amazing. It's magnetic force. So it takes time for you guys to get balanced with these things. You got to get balanced with your bodies. So, and this is something where you have to really come in positions how you use the symbiote out of mind, out of sync, out of balance, out of sound. Okay, you got to get out of thinking. You got to reach position out of the box. You got to think outside the box, right? Come into the provisional location setting and stop seeing your body. Start to see through videograph. All right, process and position lines of centers. Gets a lot of communication lines of balance of sequence. So let's get position, location, configuration, set lines of travel. Okay, so start lines of configuration, settings of tones. Process line position and settings. Calculate and modify. Directing ground centers and communications, all right? So this is you through video file, black and white. All right, so I'm just gonna do this. This is what you guys are, just video files of black and white. I'll just get a ground line sequence and location of your system. Now, for you understand these things, it's going to get complicated because you understand how to go through all levels of light and dark, understand how to go through the moon base, and understand how to control your antennas and that position of the film strip that puts you in process of communication to all through attractions. So this is where you guys are right now in snowy-graph interference. Okay, black and white. That's all you guys are right now, right? Okay. So all you guys are all lines of different dimensions of video, right? Your different channels of operation. So you got the grounds, you got the powers, and you got the atmospheres. Okay? Each one is a different file if you bring it in. See, these are the files, right? But these are video files, right? But they all rotate and move together, right? So it's very powerful how you just go in black and white. Okay, see it moving by itself? See, it's walking, right? Right? So doing it all at once, force setting, circulation, rotation, circular rotation. So if I do this and I do this, you see it move on its own. So this is looking at this now. Watch what it does itself. See? It's following the diagram, right? So this is alive, this is alive. They work together through the frequencies. Okay? So it's a balanced communication system and interactions. Now once you understand that line settings, once you get balanced that communication with the system, then you come into red, right? So you basically build yourself and set lines into 7-line signals and locations in between the lines. Okay, so you're creating a rainbow graph screen of a video file or an audio file, but you have to really understand how to come into your own animation and draw it out through black and white first and travel, okay? So now you're building more volume and mass, right? So you're coming into the colors, lines of pattern, and spectrum. Then you come into the blue, all right? So you've got 3 grounds of settings and set position, all right? So all you're turning yourself is into a rainbow child, the coloration lines of setting. And set position to its operation, okay? So you start to see yourself in light shades and shadows, so coloration of spectrum, okay? Okay, so this sees you, but this wants to be the color, right? Because it's opposition, right? This is just black and white. So I got to do the same thing so it can reach the frequencies, so they can work together in confirmation of balance of interface. Okay, so it wants to be in the same color where you are, in the spectrum. So I got to add one more, add blue. So I'm adding blue lines, outline signals. It wants to be outside, it doesn't want to be inside. Okay, there's the balance. Now they work together. Now they're traveling together, right? That's the indication with Gypsy where she touched the purse, and when she touched the purse, she levitated with the purse, and they levitate together through frequency of balance and set position of coloration, right? You look at that, you see it moving by itself. See? Indication moving by itself, right? Now, if I move it this way, is it off position? No. All right, so it's in a complete system, a cycle. Okay? So you got to see yourself looking at the eyeline cycles, looking this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, that way, but never look at the center of anything. Okay? Because that's mirroring you back to you through a story. Because you're already in the operation of the center operation of everything anyway. So all you're creating is a rainbow of yourself, but you have to choose and how to indicate that location when you come to your chakra systems. So now I go through orange, right? Which is what? You go through the chakra systems. You create the files, audio, video, what you want to do, right? So that's what you come into, is out of indication setting, come into a video screen. You formulate your light, shades, and shadows, because that's all. Your filtering infiltration system all through traction. Okay? That's all you guys are, walking video screens of different dimensional layers of space and time. The coordinates, that longitudes and latitude, location, setting, once you understand what your body is through a battery, they understand what it is through antenna, they understand what it is through a transponder, to a set responder, they understand what it is through a transistor, through a resistor, then you understand how to use it through a satellite. Through your longitude, latitudes of your degrees and your coordinates, where you get communication of systems off the balance, okay, through your antennas. Okay, so you build up the structure. Okay, let's bring in the green. So let's get in chronological order. We got the black, okay, we got the red, we got the blue, and then we go any way color you want. You don't have to go in order. There's no chronological order of chakra systems because it rotates too fast in line, position, and setting all through operation. So you codify your system, what you want to do through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. But you start with your video files first of dimensions of space because you're creating a rainbow of yourself first, which is a rainbow child to a wave shower. Wave shower is the next level for you to understand indications, okay? Because now you're out of the dream sequence. Now how you see yourself is directing, the readjusting, your existing of your awakenings of your minds now. Okay, so the process that is your walking video file starts off with the snowy graph interference. Now when you understand how to connect with your antennas, then you get a lot more balance, how to use that and dimensionalize at different levels of videos of files that you can send messages to each other through audio or file itself. And then you send it up to a film strip that's at position. Now you send in a video to them or a music song or any of that indications. You do everything of the mind. The process is a lot much easier. Okay, so once we come in blue, then we go into orange, okay? Fibonacci, right? And then we go into the green, okay? Set position lines. Now let's get back in line signs locations. Now I can go in yellow or I can go in green. I can go in any order or location, but nothing's out of order. Everything's always in order. So never think yourself as out of order. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be in chronological order through chakras because they're rotating your system. They're never in a straight line. They start off in a straight line, but they rotate soon as you get in the spectrum. As soon as you rotate your eyes, they're circulating and rotating right away, starting off in position of what? Light speed, which is zero gravity. Zero setting, zero operation, and zero track location, set position of operation setting, okay? Everything starts off at zero. You get in a car, everything starts at zero. Now you gear shift, you change the time frame, right? That processes your system into first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, right? So you're ramming up your flux of your time capacitor to your body capacitor to your time reactor. That processes your system of what you're doing in that position as you're fluxing up and fluxing down, right? So you're ramming your position, your idols. You're at their frequency, right? And your eyes are going all at once. And you bring these things in, bring these things in, bring these things in all at once. So you've seen 2 TVs, now you're seeing 5,000 TVs all at once. In one frame, one traction, one location. Okay? All through codification, all through encryption, all through binary, all through set position. Okay? All right, so we got position, then we go into yellow. Okay, so I'm just adding files to myself now. Now, you can do it in chronological order, but you have to truly understand that basically it's like putting cement to a brick, creating a structure of a building. It's that position. There's the yellow. Okay? Now, this overrides that because this is not that. So I have to turn that into yellow, right? Because it's losing traction, it's losing location, it's losing space, it's losing time. Because it can't stay at that if you're this. So what's it going to do? It's going to change its own system of its own operation, right? So that's what it's telling me to do, right? So I have to get in position locations or it won't move. Okay, so it wants to be balanced with you in frequency, right? It wants to understand you how to use yourself, knowing exactly how to use your line communications, understand how to use the conscious of its awareness that's given to you in tractions, how to use your mind through imagination setting that sets a course to a recourse, and that communicates to its position, how you calculate and modify through its convergence setting of mind of inception of interface. Okay? All right, so that's lines. Let's just continue on in that line sequence locations. Now we're going to get inline screen adaptations in green. Okay, we'll stop at green. Okay, so now this is getting frustrated because I'm overriding this. It wants to be the color as you because it wants to have fun with you, right? It wants to identify your system. They're just inner child. They're just little kids, playing with their systems. And I understand how to understand that in lines of screen adaptation settings. Okay, so I'm there, right? Okay, but it overrides this line. So, okay. So it's disturbing its system. It's glitching, right? You can see it's glitching. So I have to rotate the system and change position lines in chronological order so we have the same frequency of combination of 1. So that unificates the system line centers. Let's get position lines of order, travels and point lines of graph. In that indicates lines of flux. That process indicates the system. Okay, so orange is going to be inside. It wants to be inside. Okay, so we start with that setting. Okay, so now it's starting to ram up in some locations, getting better, more balanced with your frequencies, because it wants to basically travel with you at the same frequency, the same level. All right, so we go from that, and then we go to that position locations in yellow. Okay, so we get yellow settings, outline, center, and sequence, set lines of travel. And then we get position locations in green, set position lines of travel. Now we're at the balance of positions now that they can have fun together. Now they're rotating together all at once, see? See, it wasn't moving before because it was off position, but now they're working together at the same frequency. All through platform, all through communications, all through convergence set at different levels of space and time through video file. A video file is just a film strip of foundations that you have to understand interactions. It's an existing panel that processes lines of position that runs its operation to itself. So it's a constant continuous flow that you guys have to constantly get in position of. It's created through its animation and set lines of travel, black and white, then into coloration as spectrum. But understand how to see the eye lines of sequence is a balance of communications all at once. See? It's going wild, right? Working all together, right? So they're having fun with each other because they're at the same level of frequency. All right? Bring back the failsafe, then you can add another frame. So if I'm adding another frame, I'm going to change the graph screens. So offline, this is offline inside rotation, right? So it's trying to readjust what's going on. It's offsetting, right? So it also, if you want in that position, you have to go across screens in that position so it can measure your scale of communication lines of travel. Now it works all together and they're back and set in frequency, right? So if I change the graph line centers, it's consciously wants to do its own frame of own communication setting. This offlines its position now. So I have to do the same thing, okay? So it doesn't change the voice lines of pattern. Now they work together. Now they're having fun, right? So if I change the time frame, look at the structure, new division location and setting through schematics. But they work together in travel recognition, all right? So it's very powerful how they travel on their own. See? Traveling on their own, working together. As they bring it in, they slow down their space because they're coming to Earth now in spectrum of light, of all light communication all through the positions, all in balance and set traction. Okay? So, and it's all in different angles. When you bring it in, you start to see the video screens. See? There's the video screens inside. Okay? There's the spectrum, there's the lights. Okay? So it's amazing how you see all line communicates to its pyramid, from light stage and shadows, from this, from that. Okay? It's amazing. The void in the center, colorations of the pyramid, from top to bottom. Lights, shades, and shadows, all through a pyramid. Okay? So it's very powerful how you see that in all frames of all communication setting, all through its windows of frame communication to a door. There's the door. But it's faded. All of it's void. Right? Okay? So every time I'm doing this, I'm bringing it more and more in, right? So my hand is going in the directions. Okay? If I do it in the opposite directions, it changes the frames of time. So I have to be very cautious because I'm changing the spectrum of light all through set position of operation. Okay? So going in the right directions, it goes with me through its continuous force. If I go this way, it retracts the position location and goes on its own. So you have to understand that it has to adjust the system of what you're doing first, right? It doesn't need to identify its system, okay? You have to identify everything around and how to get balanced with that, right? Because they're already in perfection. They don't need to see you in a dream because they've never been in a dream. We've always been here. And when I say we, I'm talking about everything else, which is all levels, how we see the width of our existings, of our formations, of our oversouls, how we retract the vision location to a system. So setting lines of communication setting and travel, before you come into that formation lines that calculates the green location system, I wanted you guys to watch that movie on lines of K-Pax with Kevin Spacey when he was talking about position locations and settings, where how's Earth anything different in that position as well? We multiple level lines of set location. So if you're on an Earth line, we change your Earth line. If you're in position of a planet, we change your Earth line of its planet. So our face and our facades and our body constantly changes all set position, right? So that's the levels that we reach at in that positions, in that setting. So I'm here at that level in a line position location setting, 3 graph screen, in a 7 paradigm body in a face facade. But I can change formation system to another planet at a different level. So as I look as K-Pax, I look at location how I look on Earth, right? So we constantly change our formations of our face facades. That constantly changes the conformation setting to our configuration setting every time we go. Okay, so we're never ever in the same vessel of communication. We're mutating on different levels, set lines of balance, and getting in that position locations. You have to understand how to change yourself through space and time through figuration of travel. Okay, but it's a wonderful feeling when you get balanced with each other and set position to its operation.
I'm on it.
All right.
Okay, let me know if there's anything else I can help you with.
See? Closed captions comes in all setting lines of calculation screen location to its system. All through directions, all through locations. So all you guys have to understand is how to balance out the on lines of spectrum of light. Okay, in that position. Hold on and set my sequence. This is really going to help you identify how you can sleep better and naps. Because you have to understand the spectrum of lights, how fast, how an oversoul sees, right? It's a constant continuous, right? It's constantly changing. So it's never in the same frequency, right? It's constantly moving, right? That's where you come in one position line, 1 times 1 never equals what you think it is. It is what it is, what I say it is, right? That's my own formula, that's my own equations, right? So that's how we identify mutation of change. That's how we change our face facades. That's how we change our video files. That's how we change our audio files. That's how we change our dimensional files. That's how we change anything a filter and set design. So it's very powerful of what you guys are coming in positions of, all right? If I set a triangulation of flux and set position lines of travel, okay, there's a triangulation, travels all together, right? Okay. Now, you think it's going this way. No, it's going this way and going down that way, see? So you have to understand the triangulation of its own conscious, its own awareness. So it's going this way, it's doing this, right? You thought it was going around. No, see, you thought it was going this way, right? No, it's doing this, not this. So it's consciously aware. It's tricking your mind. That's mind alteration setting that manipulates you in set position, thinking that position location line condition setting. No. So it's not a triangulation of a circle. It's a position location of communication lines of a 4 through triangulation of a pyramid, right? Through D factors over C. Okay, there's the 4, right? So what you guys have to get in positions of is how to get in I direction. Once you get in I direction, you understand what's going on in position. Let's go into 2 tractions, locations. Travels line communication. How's it traveling, guys? How's it traveling? How's it traveling? You have to slow down the space. Okay, how's it traveling? How's it traveling? How's it traveling? How's it traveling, right? So look at the line as it goes through, all right? As the light travels through the black and the black travels through the white. Okay, where is it going first, all right? So it's going through here, okay? And it's going around this way in set position operation line setting. Okay, that's how it's traveling. Okay, and then it comes all together for the flux, right? As a rotation spin. So never think otherwise. Know exactly what you're saying in position is precog in your system, right? So let's get a 1 signal, okay? As it's traveling. Let's slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. What's it doing? Right? Which way is it traveling? Right? Which way is it traveling? Okay? So is it traveling this way? 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 Is it traveling all the way through pi? Yes, right? So never think otherwise. Just because it's a 1-line signal, don't think it can't travel through its own pi. Same with the 4. Same with the 4. There's so many ways to do 4, right? That's a 4 and that's a 4, right? But is it a 4? Huh? So lines of communication with systems. Okay. So that's a 6 lines of chair. That's a 6, that's a chair. So you have to motivate your mind, change the course centers of time frame, change the frequency lines of grounds on sequence line communication positions in its operation. It's attractions. What is it now? It's an A. It's an A through triangulation of a 4. That process indicates lines to connect the system to all set position of its operation system all through travel. Okay? So never think what it is. No, identify what it isn't, then you identify what it really is in set position is let go of your mind. Get out of the box. Okay? You have to get out of the box and you go outside, look inside, and then jump inside and expand inside the box of expansion. That's what you have to come in positions of, right? But it's true to understand that, you know, when you guys are sleeping, your eyes are doing this. Let's start with that, right? Got a center point. Cataract communication convergence is a 7-line sequence. Let's slow it down, 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 slow it down. That's the void coming in, okay? So the eye is doing what? That's what it's doing all at once. So it's going, right? It shows you the void. Then it communicates all circulation lines, right? So it's circulation, rotation lines, flux line, 3 centers of travel, 24 lines of points. Connects in high distance. Now it's energetic line screen adaptation turned into position of an atom. So your eye is an atom now, circulating. So remember, we live in the eyes, we formulate in the eyes, we correlate in the communication of the eyes, we direct lines of communication, indicates line connection, geometric lines, course, and operation lines of the eyes, longitude, latitude of streaming. We understand what position, location, and centers, what's going on from location of our eyes and direction. Okay, you have to understand the eyes and directions. Okay, eyes and directions, what's going on, how fast is it going, right? Is it going through line signals? Is it going through graph screens? Is it going through longitude, latitude? Where is it in position degrees? All right, so that's position lines of 108 degrees, 108 line centers, degrees, south wind sectors, cross lines of vectors over question, cross lines A, B, and C, course centers in south wind, travels in point lines of graph, bending space in 3 lines of travel, indirect lines of link, process line centers in solar screen location setting and solar flare. Travels all together all at once it indicates a system, right? Brings it back, but where is it in set position? Where does it leave off line position as we continue on to the next file, the next frame, next second, minute, and hour that changes all frame communication setting, the communication setting, go back to the failsafe, that's where it's in position, boom. That's where it's supposed to be. Then you can add the frame. You don't go back to the failsafe, you're off position. You're overlapping your frames. That change the audio files and fractals over screen. So it's processing in position. So your interval setting line course centers, inhibitors of a line, megahertz 16,000 line into low spectrum. Okay, that's 16,000 rotation lines of square roots and triangulation of flux of communication. Right, all together, all at once. Right, so that's a portal communication here, setting triangulation down, shift lines of anomaly, process communication all at once in travel. Right, circulation rotation. So all you got to understand is your eyes are always going circulation rotation, all the time. All right. Now once you understand that, then you can add the indication of arrows. So we start with the 4 arrows. Let's start with the north, east, and west. Let's start with that, right? Because everything's north until you change it. Everything's north until you change it. Why? What is north line? North is everything of equal of 0, which is acceleration. So there's no communication of travel until you add it through the lines of north. If you don't change the north, it stays the north. It means that it's controlling your body through north. So north equals lines of 0 on line communications, right? North, north, north. You don't change it, it goes in its own system of travel, right? That's taking over your body in mode control in set position, right? So everything's north until you change it, right? Now, what you have to start identifying is that how you perceive consciousness is location settings, how you bring these things in, all through communication. All right, so let's indicate position of box frame, indicate lines of position of 2 travels, 3 outline signals in graphing screen, cross line angles, and 4 lines of indication setting attraction. All together, all in sequence, right? So now operation lines of clocking, foundations of Fibonacci's over screen lines, overline center location of screen location. Now, all this is happening inside your eye in set sequence. So you have to identify what's going on, right? How fast is it going? So it's going to get more complicated once you understand the circulation and the rotation of your eye, a 4 spectrum of light, all at once and traveling all connections, right? The reason why you guys have to identify these things, because you're always looking at the center. Now, when you're looking at things, you look above, you look at the sides, and you look at below, but you never look at the center of anything, a travel, okay? Or you're not going to be able to identify what's beyond your system. So it's pretty simple to understand these things, guys. How, don't look at me, look there, right? Don't look here, look at me, right? So if you want to see more volume, more depth, and longitude and latitude of streaming, you want to see more angles, how you see yourself through the sun and the moon, okay? You see the inventory come into expansion. So it's like this, okay? This is your eye doing this. So this is bounce, but this is off balance. So what's off balance and who's on balance, right? Okay, what's off balance? You're off balance, but the person that's looking at you, okay, what are they seeing? What are they seeing if they're not in position of activations? They're seeing you not move. You're seeing them move, and that's what you got to balance. It's the eye perception that you have to balance, okay? So it's like, stop moving. It's the way you're talking about. I'm not moving. So you're not controlling your mind. You're not controlling the alteration of space and time. You're not position, location, setting. You have to process how to bend space, slow down space, pause space, breathe space, angle space, communication lines, edit space, time fractals of space. There's so many things you have to do, how to rotate your system and understand what you're doing with your hands of formations, how they move so fast, right? And which directions are they going? Oh, look at that. Okay. Where is it going first? Where is it going? Where is the light going? Right? Don't think on the void. Think where the light is going. Light and black has to have direct locations and polarities. They have to have a constant, continuous flow. So the eternal is you. The outline is the position of the void of you, right? So you have the yin and the yang. Okay, so it's indicating light and dark at the same time. Light and dark, light and dark, light and dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. So you're going through light, dark, direct and redirect, right? Direct and redirect, direct and redirect, direct and redirect, direct and redirect. So now you get encoding. So when you get encoding, your factors, communication lines, position location, and finger point lines, the graph communication lines, the cryptic core, send, okay, the modified codification line, communication convergence, this is location lines of travel. So you indicate, and it keeps repeating until you understand what you're hearing, right? That's sonar interference. Now, if you pick that location, that's static interference, electronic interference, magnetic interference, discharge interference, location, setting, travel, right? Process here, you can start there, outline signal, outside line, side position. Now you come into the spectrum of center. Now you're working with the bandwidth and volume and mass of indication of travel, right? So now your eyes are turning into periscopes, microscopes, telescopes, paradoxoscopes, streamscopes. Your eyes become portals and stargates, a bandwidth over longitude, latitude. It's like so it's direct and redirect, right? So it's bound of communication system that you have to truly understand what's going on with your system lines of setting. Okay? So puts all communicates to its positions, all through tractions. Okay? What you have to start indicating is how this works, all lines of communication and convergence. How to direct lines and how your phone sees you. Off position, right? So it sees your phone, waving lines of screens to understand the north, 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 east, west, or south. So you don't change the spectrum of scope, it changes the spectrum of you. You don't change the space and time, the space and time changes you. So you have to indicate what you're doing through imagination, how to recourse to communication direct and redirect line signals, how to modify your system of your thoughts, action, emotions, that changes everything except position, locations, calculations. Process lines, fortitude line, screen, adaptation, and setting. Sets communication lines and grounds, right? On signal line communications. Convergence this way, convergence this way, convergence that way, right? You thought it was going around this way. No, it's this is the way it's going, right? Waving screens, adaptation to flux over set tractions. Doesn't look like much, but it's traveling together because it knows what it's doing through indications. Outspace, that's outspace now they communicate their set. See? Traveling very fast. Right, so if I change the scope of time, it changes the spectrum of the lights and rotation of circulations and grounds. Rotate the system all through setting, all through set position. Okay? So you work together as interface locations and position, all track locations. But try to indicate that. You don't bring in the north, north comes in. You don't bring in the east, east comes in. If you're not being specific with your mind, everything's going to take over your algorithm. And your body's every your day, your 24 cycle. So if you come in your yesterday thoughts, you live in your yesterday thoughts. If you stay in the center operation of glitch, you're in the center operation of glitch. You're in the future line connections. You're confusing your system and your past, present, and future now. So what you guys have to start indicating is truly understand how to formate the system all through attractions. Okay? So this is going to help you identify how to process these positions, how to use that, how things come at you, right? And it doesn't indicate you. It shields itself from you and just backs away, right? And it puts up a wall, right? So you can't penetrate that, right? So as a two-way mirror now, right? It sees you and sees what you're going to do next. Remember, it's always protecting itself in set position. It's operation, all through attractions and locations, all right? So this is going to help you identify what you're doing and what you're not doing in position. It's how you indicate these things all through track location settings and all through position to its position location to its systems, right? Even the light is traveling. See, the light comes in. So everything comes in, everything comes out. Everything comes in, everything comes out. So now you're working with light, dark, in and out. Light, dark, in and out. That's what's going with your eyes now. Okay? So when you're sleeping, this is what your eyes are doing through spectrum. Okay, interactions. All right, let's get position lines of setting. There's your eye in the center, right? Now, when you start sleeping, you're in seconds, minutes, and hours in frame, right? All right, so set position here. Circulation rotations is the 4 setting, right? Then you get position lines of 6, 8, and lines of 12, and position 24. That's what your eyes are doing very fast. So now it's going all over the place. So it's very powerful. You have your hand up like that, and you go around like this. You can see your hand glitching right away, right? So it has to catch line screen adaptation system so it gets consciously aware of what you're looking at. Because let's say the cup is here, okay, in set position, right? And you're looking at the cup, okay? You're looking at the cup in 3 angles. Never look at the center. You always look at the sides, look at the top, or look at the bottom, but never ever look at the center, all right? Because that mirrors you back to you. All right, so how this cup sees you is this, offsetting. There's a glitch. So it sees you glitching, right? So it backs away and goes back to its planet of operation. Okay, protect itself. So it puts a defense mechanism and it puts a wall, lines of sequence in set traction. Okay, until you come back, it comes back in frequency. And when you come in position of balance, you're in set position lines of setting. So you work with that lines of team line, course centers that communicates in system, ultra convergence. When it's happening in that position locations, it will change itself into the colorations of you in set position. Okay, there's the balance, there's the confirmation, there's telepathy from one to another. Okay, a balance. You balance the frequencies to each other. Okay, you work together through interface with each other interactions. Okay, so everybody understand what they need to align now? And how to use their eyes and understand how to use the light and darks when you come in that positions, when you're in system like in setting, because your oversouls, your over line set, your souls are doing this really, really fast. Okay, that's what's going on right now, right? And then you soft the tone. Then you slow down the space. All right, now you have to get past that or you're going to get dizzy. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Now bring an object in. All right, and now you're seeing the true form. Now you've seen the intelligence. Now you've seen the transparent, translucent, thermal, and its X-ray. Now you've seen the electrical wires. Okay, down cross streams, line settings. Once you get a more confirmation system, you go into sonographic interference. Then you come into the color spectrum. Okay, then you get into the filtering system. All right, and understand how to use that. The eye itself has a filtering system. That's around the eye setting, right? That's a color spectrum of light, okay, that processes your light shades and shadows, how you see lines of spectrum. So it's all position locations, how you use that in confirmation of balance. So this is going to help you identify in that position. But in that tracked lines, that's what the team and unit should start doing in that position, is how to see things in that position, is to keep yourself in balance. And that tractions is knowing how to control everything through your patterns of behavior and your light metaphors as you're seeing everything of light and dark at the same time, measuring scale. Okay? All right, spectrum lines, correlation lines of panels. We've been in the spectrum core centers of the Coliseum. Level C in position. Level C in position. Adios.